take on the I'm call them B2-Pro design. We have a 6-inch AndyMark mecanum wheel with a UUMotor Four-Inch with a tread cut off and mounted inside using these custom CNC plates. That's kind of the base drive design. For the lift, we have an RMD motor. My Actuator is the brand. That is an X68, and you can see it's driving on these IGUS T-rails. The biggest problem I had with my original design was that there were BBs, or little ball bearings, running on plastic tracks inside the bearing, and those plastic tracks got smashed and created a lot of play in the bearings, which caused the wheel to wobble after a little bit of use. Where these have these little plastic pads, which is not like Teflon, but think of it as some slippery, robust plastic. They're rated for many, many pounds of work, and those we mounted onto the chassis that holds the wheel. As you can see, this motor will drive up and down a rack, and that motor is like a 350 watt equivalent motor. It's a brushless servo basically. It's controlled by either CAN or RS-485, so you're going to need a microprocessor between you and your radio transmitter. For the slide mechanism, I went with a 2040 extrusion here because I'm doing a lot of work in a little bitty space, and I didn't want the thing to twist. So this, let's drill down in here a little bit, find that ankle, turn it off, and you can see I've gone through great lengths to grab that extrusion, and I'm missing a couple pieces in this. There's another gusset here, and to hold onto that part better, and gussets under here. Yep, those are there. So that grabs onto another 2820 extrusion, except you notice this is a only a 2 slot, so it gets even more rigidity to hold onto that mechanism. On the inside, what I've got is a nice, sleek, all self-contained unit. We'll start off by pulling off the dust cover. You can see I'm using 2 servos with a gear and rack, and these are all aluminum plates that will be laser cut. And let me turn those off so you can see what's going on underneath. This might be a little bit of overkill, but I wanted to make sure this thing was solid. So here we have 310mm T-rails with the same IGUS bearings. I've distributed the load in 2 dimensions. There's the horizontal and vertical. So you can see that creates a good grab onto those components to ensure we get a nice stable motion. And as you can see, I tried using 1 servo, and there's just not enough space. It actually made everything bigger to use a single servo, and since space is at a premium in this build, I didn't want to use any extra spaces. Oddly enough, you can get more work done if you use 4 separate servos. I even tried 1 servo on this side, and to put a big enough servo in to do the job would require the whole mechanism to get much bigger, and I didn't want to sacrifice space, so I used 2 servos, which is more complicated in the wiring and whatnot, but less space. And here's what I mean by less space. If we go over to the version 2 model, you can see that one of these units takes up less than a third of the available space on the bottom. So that gives you room for batteries, motor controllers, components, and other cool mechanisms that you might want to put in there, just because the space is not used. And just for a comparison, this is what it looked like before. You can see mostly everything below this plate is not usable for you to put components into, just because the mechanism takes up all the room. So I'm going to continue testing. I'm almost ready to print everything as a prototype to make sure I've got all the holes in the right spot and I can actually assemble it. And then once that's complete, I'll order some laser cut parts and do a full prototype on at least one side, and then we'll get closer on down the road and be able to finish this baby up. So here's the last little bit of fun. We'll do animate joint, and you can see kind of under the hood here. You can see we're getting a full range of motion with the wheel going up full 50 millimeters. The only sacrifice I had to make was I had to, with these 40-40 extrusions, I lose about 15 millimeters of travel that I might be able to reclaim if I were to cut out a little additional slot here. And as you can see, that cutout would be invisible. You're not going to be able to see because the ankle effectively shields all that. Alright, so that's where we're at.